Little Red Riding Hood was called Little Red Riding Hood because she had a little red riding hood. It had been knitted for her by a grandma, and a grandma was now sick at the other side of the forest, and the mother asked Little Red Riding Hood to go and take some food in a basket for her grandma. She put in cakes and milk and honey and all kinds of beautiful things, but her mother asked Little Red Riding Hood to promise that she would never, ever, ever stray off the path. She would go the quickest way through the middle of the woods to go to her grandma's house, and Little Red Riding Hood promised that she would. But as soon as she had got out of the door, who should be there but the big, bad wolf? He licked at his lips, and he rubbed at his tongue. Very good. Little Red Riding Hood's going through the forest. I see that I shall try and have her for my tea. And as Little Red Riding Hood walked along the path, just as she had promised, out stepped the big bad wolf, and he said, "Oh, my dear, hello, it's lovely to see you, and where are you going on this fine sunny day?" "I'm going to go and see my grandma. She's not very well," said Little Red Riding Hood. "I see you've got some lovely things inside of your basket. But have you got any flowers?" Little Red Riding Hood looked. She had cakes, and she had honey, and she had milk, but she didn't have any flowers. The big bad wolf's smile grew wider. "My dear, if you would wish to, you could pick some beautiful flowers that just a little way off the path and just go and fetch them for your grandma. By the way, where does your grandmama live?" "Oh, my grandma, she lives on the other side of the forest at the end of this long path. Thank you very much, Mr. Wolf," said Little Red Riding Hood. And down she went to pick the flowers. And the big, bad wolf, he ran as fast as he could to Grandma's cottage, and he rat-a-tat-tatted on the door. Grandma was in bed. She said, "Who's there? Is that you, Little Red Riding Hood? Are you there?" And the big bad wolf went, "Oh, yes, oh, yes, it's me, Grandmother." "Well," said Grandmother, "the door is not locked. Come upstairs and show me what you've brought for me." The wolf crept up the stairs, and up he went, and as he went inside of the house, he couldn't believe his eyes. He looked and saw the grandma lying there, and he jumped up and he stuffed her into the cupboard and locked the door and dressed himself as the grandma. Now he lay there, with the grandma's hat upon his head, the grandma's glasses on his nose, and the grandma's nightdress on his back, and he pulled the blankets right up to his nose, so that Little Red Riding Hood couldn't see that it was him and not the grandmother. And she knocked on the door. Yes, my dear," said the wolf, pretending to be grandmother. "Come in." And Little Red Riding Hood, with the cakes and the milk and the honey, went up the stairs, and in the dark of the bedroom she looked and she said, "Grandma, what big eyes you've got." All the better to see you with, my dear," said the big bad wolf. She looked and she said, "Grandmother, what big ears you've got." All the better to hear you with, my dear," said the big bad wolf. But when she got closer, she looked and she saw those teeth, and she said, "But Grandma, what big teeth you've got." All the better to eat you with. And the great big bad wolf jumped and swallowed Little Red Riding Hood whole and lay down in the bed, and he was ever so tired. And as he was there and asleep in the bed, he started to snore. And who should be passing by that way but the woodcutter, and he heard the snoring coming out of the grandmother's cottage, and he looked inside, and he knew he had to do something, and he let Little Red Riding Hood out of the great wolf's stomach and filled him up with onions and let the grandmother out, and when that wolf opened up his eyes, he was very thirsty, and he leaned over the river to get some water, and he fell in with a great big splash, and that was the end of the big bad wolf. The grandmother ate the cakes and the honey and the milk and enjoyed the flowers, but made Little Red Riding Hood promise that she would never go off the path again. And she never did. And they were all extremely happy.